Hello everybody, and welcome to another hair-raising, fun-filled, rambunctious, swashbuckling episode of Radiorama, where I show you how to work on vintage electronics, radios, televisions, stereos, record players, the whole nine yards, from the 1920s through about the 1960s. And today, you would think I would know the model number because I've worked on exactly 10 billion of these models. It's a Zenith AM/FM large tabletop set. And this is actually one of my favorite radios of all time. Zenith just kind of came up with this winning combination that just worked perfect. You have a somewhat large-ish but manageable tabletop size, but you have a gigantic speaker. The speaker is literally the same size as that. Sometimes these have a tweeter for the later models that came in a more boxy shape. The other winning part is it's got a Armstrong FM circuit design. If none of you know your radio history, Edwin Howard Armstrong was the person that invented frequency modulation, and Zenith, they were all about engineering, and they said to him, we're going to go with you. We're going to go with your Armstrong circuit. It probably even has a sticker on the back unless it got removed. Looks like the sticker's gone. Usually it says the Armstrong circuit or the Armstrong system. And I find that about 80% of the time, these just work. So let's heard a little bit of a hum, and we got our neon bulb going. I'm prepared to turn it off in case it does in fact hum. Like I said, man, they just work, man. Like, Zenith actually had a slogan. If you're not in the U.S. and not familiar with this, their slogan was, the quality goes in before the name goes on. And I think Zeniths were just a little bit more spendy than some of the other brands, but what you bought was something that was just super reliable and would just go and go and go and go. I'm not sure if it's been worked on or not. The back doesn't look like it has a lot of excessive damage from being removed. I think this is an earlier model. It doesn't have any of the civil defense markings on the front. It's got a little marking here, two markings, 49, 59, and 64, 26. That's interesting. I wonder if it was sold and resold. Don't know. But we're going to need to get into this thing and assess the condition. If it were mine, I would say, oh, well, I'm going to clean it up and call it a day. But with this one, of course, we need to make sure it's going to be dead reliable and good for the future user. So we'll get a recap job. And but the good news is it works perfectly fine. This is just going to be a straight-up refresh of the chassis. Probably some cleaning. We'll add an audio input feature, because why not? It's got great audio. And a lot of these models came with a connection for a phonograph. So this is just a slightly downscaled model, but still we've got good FM, good AM, good tonal quality. So we're off to a good start. All right, so now that we got the back off, we can kind of take a premature little bit of a look here. It is indeed one of the models where the speaker is integrated into the chassis, which makes it easier in my opinion. And all of these Zeniths, these AM/FM Zeniths, the high fidelity units, are true hot chassis sets. Except, and I'm trying to find it, you see that white thing? That's nylon. They did a good job of physically isolating the user from the chassis. The screws that hold the metal chassis are going through nylon spacers. I know that the shafts that go to the volume, tone, and band switches and tuning, they are isolated also physically using, I believe, a phenolic plastic material. The same stuff they make wafer switches out of. So we're going to pull these 4 screws, and the whole thing, well, after I pull off the knobs, The whole thing should slide out in one piece. There, here's the underside, and to my surprise, it's kind of a mixed bag. It looks like someone's been in here. It's been a while. It's a Sprague Adams cap, probably from the 70s, maybe early 80s. But then we've got some original caps still in there. The cross the line, actually the cross the line cap here, this Bumblebee, you can see it's split open. And at one point there was a selenium rectifier here. That might have gone bad. They've replaced it with this more modern silicon diode. But they also appeared to probably have not put in a compensating resistor with it, which you should do. This is kind of scary. I was looking at it, and what the previous person has done is they've just soldered this electrolytic to one of the existing lugs coming off of the electrolytic can mounted up top, which probably indicates that one section was bad, but they didn't take it out of circuit. That's a super big no-no, because you could be using it and suddenly, quote-unquote, the capacitor that was worn out could come back to life. And so all of those need to be replaced. I know one of them is an 80 microfarad, the rest of them are 40 microfarads, and I might be out of 100 microfarad caps. Luckily, I've got an order coming in from Sal. Some of you guys in the U.S., if you're looking where to get capacitors, call up Sal. He's a Sal's Capacitor Corner. He's out of New Jersey. Good guy. He's one of our members on the radio forum. Anyway, there's another few things I need to do, like this wire, which is one side of the AC is crumbled to bits. That needs to be replaced. It's weird. This wire is perfectly fine, though. It looks like, can't tell if these are period ceramics. I think they're period ceramics. It's interesting. A lot of these I worked on still had paper caps in them. These are more modern. And these, I'll have to see if it's a resistor or a capacitor. Some of these guys can fool you. I'm looking at it here. I can't tell. Mica mold. Well, that one says type whatever resistor. Let's see what this one says in the back. It's a resistor as well. See, it's confusing because this, you see these guys? Mica mold also made capacitors, and they look exactly the same. They have the same markings on them. The only difference is that you have to look on the back to see if they say resistor or not. And some of them don't even say that. So the rest of these are ceramic caps. They're fine. So I'm going to just clean up this mess in here and kind of undo this stuff. If I don't have the 100 microfarad cap, I'll probably have to call it quits until they come in next week. I've already got a bunch of other radios that got restored, so I'm in good shape for the week. But I'll do some digging. Maybe I'll find them. You never know. Well, I don't have any 100 microfarad caps. It's kind of the end of the day anyway, so I think instead I'm just going to take this opportunity to clean the cabinet. I'm going to use, as my usual, Meguiar's Carnauba paste cleaner wax. You don't want to use soap or chemicals on Bakelite. If you do, you'll ruin the finish. And it looks like the Bakelite finish is in pretty good shape on this. But before I do that, I gotta do some equally useless task, which is I have this 1940s spatula and all the original enamel is peeling off, and I hate the new stuff the other day. It's garbage. So I've been spray painting the handle. Yes, I'm OCD, I know it. Welcome back to day 2 of working on the Zenith, except clearly that's not a Zenith. Someone dropped off the Scott Stereo Master 2400. And those are not Scott speakers. I don't know what they are, but they seem to go well with it. And it works. I just need to clean the contacts on it. There's not enough to do to make an episode about it. In the meantime, I did clean up the cabinet. It looks pretty good. And interestingly enough, another one of these, except in a different cabinet configuration, came in. This is exactly the same chassis. It's just, I'm not sure if it's, this might be a newer version. No, it's not. If it were newer, you'd see the civilian defense markings, which are the little triangles on the dial. So they could be both about the same era, early 50s. The fact that it says they both say FM 100, that's basically prior to that there was old FM, which was the original Armstrong FM, and that was made obsolete after 1947. So these are probably from between 1950 to 54-ish. I don't know. Zenith used configurations of that chassis forever. It was a very successful design. Again, good and reliable. But anyway, I'm going to get this guy off the shelf. I need to clean the contacts and clean it up in general, and then I'll move on back to the Zenith chassis. Alright, moving on now that we're back to the chassis. It's time to fix a lot of this mess here. This electrolytic has 4 values, and 3 of them are 40 microfarads and 1 of them is 80 microfarads. And the way that you can tell which one is which, and I can't really film this because there's too much crap in the way, is at the bottom, behind each one of these 4 lugs, there's a shape that's stamped out of the phenolic plastic material. Hump, square, triangle, and unmarked. And hump is 80 microfarads, the rest are 40 microfarads. The one that's unmarked is 25 volts. That's probably a bias cap. When I was rummaging around in here, I accidentally broke the lead off this resistor that's coming off of the anode of the diode. And I just don't feel like that's probably enough value here. Should probably put 75 to 80 ohms in here, because I'm replacing this with, originally there would have been, you know, a different resistor in here, or maybe this was the resistor. It's not enough resistance to compensate for the added efficiency of a modern silicon diode. So I'll dig through my power resistor supplies and see what I've got. I'd actually rather it be on the outside of the case, but maybe I'll wire it in and see how hot it gets, because there's a lot of room in here. So it's not like it's pushed up close to anything critical, but we'll see. So I need to replace all 4 of these electrolytics, and my new cap supply has not come from the supplier yet, so I'm going to put 2 47 microfarads together, and that'll give me what I need for that 80 microfarad cap. Okay, so I've got this set pretty much recapped. I mean, like I said, most of it was recapped for me already. I mounted a power resistor on the outside of the chassis. That's better for heat dissipation. And I'm hoping I did it right here. Sometimes I'm dyslexic and I wire in the diode backwards. This is the diode. And if that's backwards, this thing will smoke. Either that or it's going to cause a lot of damage down the line. But I think I did it right. So, got my death wires hooked up. Let's go ahead, plug it in, see if it does something horrible. Something really bad would have happened by now, so I think I did it right. Yeah, we're in good shape. See how warm is that getting? Oh, not very warm at all. That's just barely warm. That's good. What was in there before was a 20 ohm resistor. That's not really enough resistance, so I put a 55 ohm resistor in there in its place. So now that everything's kind of done here as far as electronics, I am going to add the oh so famous audio input feature that I put on most of my sets. I just do that because, I mean, this has FM. At least you've got that. There is music on FM still. But now they'll have the ability to listen to AM and FM, or if they want to flip a little switch in the back, they can listen to their music through it. And this is a good radio as far as listening to things. It actually has good fidelity. It's actually pleasurable to listen to versus a lot of the other ones that just have like crappy little 4.5-inch pie pan speakers. So I'll show you how to do that. We're going to have to use an isolation transformer because, again, this is a true hot chassis set. And you do not want to have any sort of potential of having current getting through the cord that you plug up to your device and the chassis. So if you've seen this before, feel free to fast forward, but there's a lot of people that ask, how do you add these audio inputs? Well, I'll show you again. Here we go. Okay, so I've got the audio running through the set. It's going through the volume pot, top of the pot where the IF signal comes in. I've disconnected temporarily the ceramic disc capacitor that went to that connection. That's our radio signal. The other side goes to the bottom of the pot, which is the negative. And then we have a pair of resistors where our right and left channels go together. On our incoming audio line, the black wire is negative. That goes to the other side of the isolation transformer. So this prevents any juice from getting to the cord. Also put a little glue around the cord that prevents it from chafing. And we've got audio running through it right now. Again, these things sound really good. You know, like I said, a lot of these old radios kind of sound like crap. This one doesn't. You could hold it up. It's certainly not a Sonos, but I'd put it up there. It sounds pretty damn good. So the last thing I need to do is put a switch between here and the volume pot so that I can restore radio off and on, so that when the user wants to listen to AM or FM, they can, if they don't want to listen to their Bluetooth or whatever they got plugged in there. These things are dirt cheap. You can get them for like 10 or 15 bucks on Amazon or wherever you choose to do your shopping, and they'll run for about 10-12 hours on a charge, maybe longer. Anyway, I got a few around the house I use. Alright, so run the switch wire through and put it back in the case and do some final testing and a final run, and hopefully we'll be good to go on this guy. Alright, this guy's done. Got it all back together again. And having my Bluetooth run through it. And like I said, these radios actually sound pretty nice, especially if you don't have a lot of room for one. Well, did the Bluetooth just die on me or what? Let's see. Well, I'm having problems with the Bluetooth, but whatever. I will switch the switch in the back to restore FM radio operation.
Talk a little bit. I have had this issue come up before.
Boy, we live in lavish.
Well, we found Kim Bestel.
Bad to the bone.
Yeah, there we're talking. I feel like an old man. I was like, oh yeah, I remember listening to that on the school bus when I was in like middle school or whatever, or however long ago it was. Anyway, thanks for watching this episode. I'll actually be working on another version of this model real soon. The one that I showed previously with the plastic window in the front. But in the meantime, this one seems to be doing its thing. And so that wraps the end of another Radiorama episode. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below. And I'll try to get to the comments and questions if I can. But in the meantime, thanks so much for watching. And until the next time a radio or something else comes across my bench, see you guys next time. Adios.